Chapter 11 Last Chance. Scott found the note from Tiger on the top step an hour after Mom left for work the next day. Raymond leaned close as Scott unfolded it. The note said, "Go to the Sighing Ghost Cave at 2 o'clock." "When are we leaving?" Raymond asked. "We're not." Scott crumpled up the note and stuffed it in his pocket. "If we go to the cave, we'll just find another note saying the Mitt is somewhere else. I'm going over to Pine Street and see if Tiger lives there. If he does, I'm going to make him give the Mitt back. Come on." They climbed on their bikes. Scott stopped outside the neatly trimmed hedge and said, "You wait here. I'll be right back." He opened the gate and started up the walk. "Hello, young man," a pleasant voice called. Scott turned to see a small silver-haired lady with a trowel in her hand standing beside a flower bed. She looked rather old to be Tiger's mother. "Hello, Mrs. Bates," he began. "I'm Miss Bates, dear. I'm Elwood's great-aunt," she said, coming toward him. "I'm afraid he's not here at the moment." "Elwood? I guess I came to the wrong house." Scott turned to leave. "Goodness, I'm getting absent-minded," Miss Bates smiled, shaking her head. "Elwood told me he doesn't go by that name at this school." She paused, looking thoughtfully. "Did he say Julian, or was it E.J.? Elwood Julian? So that's what E.J. stood for." Scott smiled broadly in spite of his efforts to keep a straight face. "It's E.J., he said, suspecting she didn't know about the Tiger part. "When will he be back?" "Not for quite some time. Elwood rode off to meet some friends a little while ago." Miss Bates frowned. "I do hope he will be more careful this time. He came home soaking wet night before last. I kept him home yesterday to make sure he didn't come down with the cold. But I didn't have the heart to keep him home again today. Elwood and his father have traveled around so much, the poor dear has had a difficult time making friends. Now that they have decided to make this their permanent home, I am delighted to see his problems are behind him. Please come again. Elwood's friends are always welcome here." Scott thanked her and hurried down the walk. Elwood Julian. No wonder he changed his name to Tiger. "Did you get it?" Raymond asked hopefully. "No, Tiger wasn't there. Let's go over to Rusty's." Joey was the first one to notice Raymond's black eye. "Wow, where did you get that? You been in a fight?" Soon a whole crowd had gathered around Raymond, asking questions. Raymond seemed to be enjoying all the attention as he told them what happened. Scott left him there and headed for the treehouse. Kev and Eric were there with Rusty. "Any news from Tiger?" Rusty asked when Scott scrambled inside. "He left me another note." Scott pulled it out of his pocket and passed it around. "The Sighing Ghost Cave?" Kev frowned. "You going out there?" "I have to. Dad promised to play ball with Raymond tonight. This is my last chance to get the mitt back before I have to tell Dad I took it. You guys coming with me?" he asked, hoping they would. "You mean go in the cave?" Eric swallowed hard. "What if the ghost starts moaning and groaning?" Rusty laughed. "You know that's not a ghost, just the wind blowing through a crevice in the cave walls. Nothing to be scared of." The ghost sound wasn't what bothered Scott. The thought of going through the dark, narrow passageway made him shiver. "If we get there first, we won't have to go inside." "We better bring along a flashlight just in case," said Eric. "I'll bring one," said Scott. "I'll bring one too," said Kev. "Mom's got one that will light up the whole cave bright as day." "I was planning to go back to the old house, but I'll come too," said Rusty. "I don't want to go out there all by myself." I'll come too, said Eric. By noon, they had figured out a plan to get to the cave first and make Tiger give the mitt back. We have to be prepared for anything, said Scott. Tiger's aunt said he went to meet some friends. I don't know. I didn't know he had any, said Kev as they followed Scott down the rope ladder. Raymond was out in left field when they got to the ball field. Scott called to him. They said, Don't forget, we meet on the corner of Ninth and Alder in half an hour. Raymond came running and they started home. The flashlight needed new batteries. Scott rummaged through the junk drawer looking for more while Raymond hurried out to the garage to get Dad's flashlight. There were no more batteries. It's not there, Raymond said, rushing back. This one will have to do. Scott stuffed the flashlight in his hip pocket. Hoping Kev would bring a better one. Let's go. Rusty and Eric were the first ones waiting when they got to 9th Street. Rusty has parked his bike in the shade near the entrance to an alley. Where's Kev? Scott asked, glancing at his watch. It's almost 1 o'clock. Don't worry, he'll be here, said Eric, leaning against the wall. How far do we have to go? Raymond asked. Only about half a mile. Scott turned and pointed off to the right. See that hill sticking up? That's Lookout Hill. We take 9th to the Blacktop Road and ride about half a mile. When we get to Lookout Hill, we park our bikes and take the trail around to the other side. That's where Sign Ghost Cave is. A dog barked suddenly. A trash can crashed and rolled out of the end of the alley. They all turned to look. A gray cat. The hair on its tail sticking straight out like a bottle brush, streaked past. The dog kept barking, but his barks were getting farther away. Must be chasing another cat, said Eric. They waited a few minutes, but there was no sign of Kev. There's no use hanging around here any longer, said Scott, reaching for his bike. Kev came racing around the corner and slammed on his brakes. I just saw Tiger, he panted. He almost ran into me when he came out of an alley on 8th Street a few minutes ago. I tried to catch him, but he was too fast for me. I think he's headed for the cave. Let's go! Scott leaned over the handlebars, pumping hard.